Hey, 1301, this is C-Rob. This is the mask I wore for last Halloween. It was pretty popular. And I keep it in my office. I wanted to go over your Saeed questions that you'll be doing for your discussion board and draft and paper. I think probably you should look at my picture theory photo analysis first. I think you'd have a much better idea of what I'm trying to do. Question number one, it's on my screen too, asks you to read the wedding photo that I talked about in my first Saeed lecture. That's a pretty popular one, but ultimately feel free to choose any of the photos you like. Some people talk about the kids in the burned out car. Some people talk about the baby in the tent. The little boy with the Grease shirt, and I forgot to talk about Grease, what that means in American culture. But you can pick any photo you want, and ultimately you just psychoanalyze what you think. And again, like what you think is just as important as what I think. Your hometown, your parents, your teachers, your church, whatever. What you think of something when you walk into a room belongs to you. Also, what you think when you see a picture belongs to you. Maybe the first thing, this isn't me, I think it's Saeed. Do we read most photos for rich and poor? Maybe since y'all are young, you read the photo for the beefcake, but through time and space, most people, when they walk into a room, they read it for rich and poor, or at least Americans do. So for number one, you pick a photo and you just break down what you think significant, what you think Saeed or Moore are trying to teach us, almost like a lesson. And maybe in 2020, we're moving toward like an emoji culture. So maybe we instinctively understand a photo more than we understand writing. So hopefully you'll like that. It's pretty straightforward. I'm not looking for anything special. Maybe it's money, maybe it's feminism, maybe it's war, maybe it's Americans are elitist. It's whatever you think. The second question asks about Saeed's writing style. Even in my face-to-face classes, I would probably do that more in 1302. We spend a lot more time interpreting the photos. But I would tell my students in the face-to-face classes, if they were doing number two, to maybe picture Saeed as 10 years old, 20 years old, sitting at his desk. There's bombs going off. There's violence. Maybe his niece goes to the store and gets shot. Maybe his uncle is walking his dog and a bomb goes off. And he never really feels safe. He's trying to write. He's trying to type. But his writing is scattered. The question says it's a mix of memoir. It's a mix of politics, personal stories. So for number two, if you do that one, I would picture him just sitting at his at his desk, nervous that a bomb would go off. Number three, I would give that up to picture theory. Saeed lived in the Middle East for 30 years, but then he lived in the United States and taught here for 40 years. So he would know what Palestinians are thinking, but I think he would also know what Americans are thinking. And question number three asks, do the pictures read us? Does Moore think we're fat, rich Americans and we're going to look down on the people in Palestine? We're going to read them as poor. We're going to read their country as violent and dangerous. So maybe you should think about the whole series. Does he start with negative photos that show poverty, that show violence, and then he moves toward normal day, street scenes, a dad with his son? Does he move to something more general, something about the daily lives of the people? It's not about, hey, Americans, my country is poor, help us. Maybe he's just trying to show you a day in the life, what they do on a Tuesday afternoon. But ultimately, that's up to you how the photos read us. Number 4 says you can pick your own photos. I would say really the only way you might mess that one up is you take the question too literally. You would write, my Aunt Irene and I went to the beach and she got stung by a jellyfish and she was mad. I think number 4 is a little deeper than that. Maybe you would like embed in your essay 3 family pictures or 3 pictures of you with your mom. And you would say, my mom is like the bedrock of our family. She's the matriarch. She ties everything together. Maybe you could pick a Facebook series of you like at the club, and you would say those photos are designed to make you look cool. But number 4 is a fairly deep question, so I would be thinking about that if you choose your own pictures. And you could also even pick 3 2020 pictures from Palestine and Israel and break that down in relation to Saeed's 1980 pictures. And the last question to me is sort of a political argument. What political point is he making? And, 1945, after like 6 million Jews died in the gas chambers in Germany, the Allies got together and cut Palestine in half and said half is Palestine, half is for Israel. So you'd been living there. Your grandmother had been living on a plot of land for 100 years, and all of a sudden, other governments get together and say, "Y'all got to leave. This is another country now." So for those of you who like politics, I would maybe pick number 5, and maybe there's some comparison to the way the United States has traditionally treated Mexico and the way Israel has traditionally treated Palestine. Okay. Bye, 1301.